Hi, I'm Dia, and you guys are watching Dianosaur. Today, I'm bringing you the second part of my February wrap up, and I have broken it up into chunks. And today, I'll be talking about five books that I read in the month of February. So, the first book I'm going to talk about, so these are the books I'm going to talk about today are mostly, like positive books, like the books I really liked, except for one book which I was like, like meh about. So the first book that I gonna talk about is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So this book is about a man, wakes up from a coma and he finds himself stranded in space, and it's kind of like this sci-fi mystery kind of a thing where he has to solve why is he in space, what happened to everyone else on the spaceship, and what exactly is he supposed to do on a spaceship. Like, he can't even remember his name, like who he is and all that. And on top of that, like, he is stranded in the middle of nowhere. Like, literally in the middle of nowhere. And I was kind of nervous, not gonna lie, before I started the book. And that's because I thought that okay, so I have heard great things about this book, but I also heard like not so great things about this book. And the main complaint was that the humor is pretty repetitive and juvenile and not that great, and I was scared of the humor not clicking with me. And since the humor is a big part of this book, the big part of the character's personality, I felt that if I don't jive with the humor, then I won't like the book. And it was a buddy read. I read it with a friend, and I was scared that, maybe I will end up hating the book or something like that. Basically, I had my doubts, but I absolutely loved this book. Like, it had a few flaws. It was not a perfect book. Okay, so for some reason my camera cuts off after a few minutes. So yeah, I am starting over. So anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, I absolutely loved the book. The humor, it totally jived with me. Like, I was actually laughing out loud at parts of the book. And yeah, it's a bit on the childish juvenile side, but I like, childish juvenile jokes. And it's not that childish, and I realized that the jokes were kind of similar, the situation was kind of similar in his first book, The Martian. And people who have read The Martian and read Project Hail Mary, most of them are like, it's very similar. The protagonist is basically the same, and that's why they didn't like Project Hail Mary. I haven't read The Martian. This was my first Andy Weir book, and that's why I felt, like it was this fresh take on sci fi. Like, it was very, what do you call it? It used very basic sciences to kind of structure the mystery, the central mystery of the story, and the way our protagonist solves the problem and everything, or tries to solve the problem and everything. Like, he uses basic science that most people can understand. Like, at least I could understand to a certain uh, level. And he used that kind of a science. Like, it was like this popcorn sci-fi book. It was not talking about heavy themes or anything like that. It was just this fun adventure, and it worked really well. There were times when I felt that the sciencey parts were a little too dry, and I didn't care about the past timeline. Like, I knew what was gonna happen, and I was like, like there are no stakes in the past timeline, so why should I care? So those are the only reasons why I gave it a 4.5 instead of a 5 star. So yeah, that is Project Hail Mary. Next, I'm gonna talk about Tales of Lunis Aquaria by Tessa. I forgot the, like, I don't know, I don't know how to say her last name. I'll put up the name here, like the photo of the book over here. Editing me, please, please do this job. Like, don't let me down. So, Tales of Lunis Aquaria is this bunch of short stories, which is this very charming, like faux folktale kind of a thing. Like these are folktales uh, which depict this world with magical animals and creatures and this mother nature kind of a character who, you know, like sees over everyone and everything. And it's, I don't have much to talk about this book. It was a great palate cleanser. After which book I read? Shit, I forgot which book. It was a palate cleanser for me. I was like, okay, I need to read something, you know, like soft and fluffy and all that. And I got the recommendation to read this book, and I read this, and it was, it will make you feel like it has this magical, dreamy kind of a quality that will make you feel like you are, you know, in this different world. And yeah, it's I mean, if you want to try something a little bit different, if you want to try something short, if you want something to, you know, pad up your number of books read per month or per year, or if you want to enjoy something like very wholesome and nice and soft and dreamy and all that, do check this book out, Tales of Lunis Aquaria. Next, we have And Put Away Childish Things by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So, I got the arc for this book from NetGalley, and thank you, NetGalley, for the arc. I gave this book 3.5 stars. So, this book is kind of like a different take on portal fantasies. And this man, whose grandmother had written this famous children's portal fantasy books, he comes to realize that the world in her grandmother's books might be, you know, like real, might not be fictional. So that's basically the premise of the story, and it's a very short story, so I'm not gonna tell you much about it. So I really liked the first two-thirds of the story. I really liked the humor, I really liked the writing, I really liked the tone that it had. It had this kind of um like, you know, in adult contemporaries you have this kind of like sarcastic, kind of bleak outlook, kind of like, you know, like the world is going to shit and everyone is shitty and all that kind of stuff. So it had that kind of tone. And the humor was very, it was not like, you know, Andy Weir humor or anything like that. It was very scathing and, you know, tongue-in-cheek kind of a humor. And I liked the commentary on portal fantasies in the first third. But then when he actually went into the world and all that stuff started happening, I was like, okay, this is not doing it for me anymore. I wanted the book to end at the 50% mark. Like, it's a good, it would have been a good short story, but it's not a good novella. I feel like this is all my feelings. Like, take them with a grain of salt. So, I felt that the last third, when the main villain was kind of the giving the monologue and everything, and people were trying to figure stuff out and how to defeat the main villain and all that. So I felt that that part could have been shortened. Like, I was, by the time I reached that part, I was like, my patience is not there anymore. So yeah, and put away childish things. It could have been a good book, and also I felt that, I mean, Adrian Tchaikovsky, he writes very, very different books. Like, I have read uh, one novella, and I have soft DNF'd another book by him. But from what I've heard, his books are very different from each other. And I don't know why he wanted to write about portal fantasy, because portal fantasy is a very, well explored subgenre of fantasy. If you don't know, The Magicians by Lev Grossman, the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. So these books, they have already explored portal fantasy and, like, subverted it and done all kinds of things with that. Like, they have explored every inch of portal fantasy and what makes it so, nostalgic, what makes it so appealing to people, like children and adults alike. And I felt that Andrei Tchaikovsky, he could have chosen something else to write a book about instead of a portal fantasy, because I feel like it's been done to death. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on this book. So going from this could have been a short story to this should not have existed, that's what I feel about this book. Anyway, so next we have The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This was my favorite book of the month. I gave it 5 stars, and although I gave it 5 stars, I didn't think I would give it 5 stars, because it started out, oh my god, I felt I was kind of in a slump. I was not feeling the best. Actually, at that point, I was not, like, I was very sick. Like, I was coughing a lot, and just the worst. And at that point, I was very cranky and moody and all that. And I started reading The Shadow of the Gods, and I was like, this is not Malice, like, this is not Faithful and the Fallen, I don't like this. And slowly the characters started growing on me. And then, the first half of the book was very slow, and at that point I was not appreciating the pace of the book. But later, when the second part hit, I was like blown away. And at the end, like when the book ended, I realized that, the first part being slow, that made it so much more impactful. The second half was so much more impactful because of the slow first half, because it helped establish the characters and the setting and everything, so that the important parts, that, the reveals that happened, uh, the emotional situations that ended up happening, the emotional character moments and all that, it held such a lot of, importance. So The Shadow of the Gods is this Norse inspired story. It's kind of like those Icelandic sagas, and it's about these 3 characters and how their storylines converge. It's a very John Gwynne book, so that means that no one is safe, especially parents. Like, hide your mothers, hide your fathers, because John Gwynne is gonna get them all. So, I really liked this. One of the characters was a mother who was searching for her son, and the mother character, oh my god, it I have a soft spot for fantasy mothers. And if you guys don't know, Sword of Falcon is one of my favorite books, and it follows a mother and her like, quest to protect her son and family and all that. And there is something about, fantasy mothers, where they are like, they had this old life, but they abandoned that life to raise their child. And when that, like, they put everything into, raising their child, or when their life is in danger or something happens to them, the maternal instinct and the fighter instinct, they kind of merge, and they become this insane, like, machines of destruction. Like Orca in this story, she was like this actual beast that was like, I'm death, I'm vengeance, I'm what I can't exactly remember the what she said, but that was basically it. Like, she turned into this killing machine, and she was like, I'll do anything to get my son back. So I like that, that part of motherhood, that feral animal like part of motherhood, that basic instinct of protecting your young and all that. So I really like that. Varg was okay. I It took me a while to warm up to him. And Elvar was, she started out kind of like, I was like, why are we following her? And then things started getting better, and her chapters became more interesting and all that. And the lore of the world, it was very similar to Norse mythology, but there are, like, it has like, it has enough of new stuff to make it feel fresh. And I loved the setting and the world building. Like, it was, the writing was so atmospheric. It made you feel the cold of, you know of that place. What, Vigrid is the name, I think. I can't remember exactly, but it makes you feel the chill in the air of that place. It makes you smell the fish and everything of the uh, harbor. It makes you feel the love these people have for their family, like found family or blood family or something like that. And it's amazing, it's amazing. Go and read the book, like, now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading Hunger of the Gods next month. And I don't know what I'm gonna do after that book is over, because third book is not yet announced, and I don't know how long I'll go without reading the concluding book in the series. So that's The Shadow of the Gods. Next, we have The Vessel by Adam Neville. It's a horror, folk horror, and I've been looking for different types of different subgenres of horror, just to expand my horizons. And folk horror is one of those subgenres that I'm quite interested in. And it was on Kindle Unlimited, and it was very short. I read it and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's about this mother who is kind of trying to, like, she has this ex-husband who used to abuse her, and she has a daughter, and to take, like, she has taken up a new job taking care of this dementia patient old lady. And things start getting weirder and weirder at this old lady's house. And yeah, that's basically the story. And I really liked everything about it. Like, it's exactly my kind of horror. You can hear kids in the background playing with flutes and whatnot. Anyway, so it sounds kind of ominous, the flute sound, as if someone, like, some supernatural entity is coming or something like that. I don't know. Uh, Anyway, so it had a creepy old lady. It had, uh, you know, like, old gods. It had sacrifice. It had supernatural stuff happening. It had this annoying little girl. Like, she was not annoying, but I felt that she was a bit annoying at times. Anyway, so it had all the things that I like in horror. And yeah, I really liked it. I don't know what else to talk about. And it's about this, how the cycle of abuse that goes on, and how like it's difficult to break out of it, because the entire system that you're submerged in is conspiring against you. Like this lady, she had to take care of her daughter, and she had to do this job because her husband turned out to be this asshole, and he used to beat her and all that. And the job market is, first of all, very difficult. It's very difficult for someone unskilled to get a job. And even if you get a job, holding down one job with as a single parent is very difficult. And on top of that, if your kid is getting bullied at school, so you have to spend time at school also, spend time with your child also, and you don't have that much time to like spend with your loved ones. And it's this really difficult story about women who are abused. And it's kind of, the end is kind of like a wish fulfillment thing, which I ate it up, like I really liked. So yeah, that's it. So that leaves two other books, Renia and the Crane Husband. uh like I haven't talked about these two books, and I'm gonna talk about them. And yeah, I will make a separate video talking about them, because it's gonna take a bit more time than it took me to talk about the ones I talked about now. Okay, I said talk a lot. Sounds weird in my head right now. So anyway, I will make another video talking about those two books, and there will be one other book talking about the DNFs of the month, because I have DNF like probably 5 books in the month of February. Like February is the shortest month of the year, and I have already read and DNF'd so many books. Like, yeah. Anyway, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.